Prayer is a disciplined, relational practice that aligns the inner life with heaven's purposes and trains attention, humility, and hope for daily living. In a culture that equates strength with noise and speed, kneeling teaches embodied humility. By lowering the body, the mind quiets, ego loosens, and focus sharpens, a principle echoed by research on embodied cognition and the calming effect of slow hare. Even breathing that engages the parasympathetic nervous system. Through regular practice, fear is reordered. When worries are named rather than suppressed, rumination loses power, perspective returns, and courage grows as values, not impulses, guide the next right step. Effective prayer is two-way, combining honest words with attentive listening and leaving generous space for silence in which insight can surface as a remembered line of wisdom, a nudge toward reconciliation, or a creative solution that accords with truth and love. Guidance of that kind can be tested by asking whether it produces clarity rather than panic, patience rather than haste, and whether trusted counsel confirms its direction. Intercession, carrying others in prayer, expands compassion from feeling to action, reshaping how we speak, give, forgive, and lead. And it knits communities together as people kneel for one another and then rise to serve in practical ways. Structure sustains strength, so a simple pattern helps. Adoration lifts the gaze by naming what is beautiful and worthy. Confession faces attitudes and habits that need change and opens room for growth. Thanksgiving catalogs gifts already present and turns scarcity into sufficiency. And supplication presents concrete needs with humble boldness. Expectancy and gratitude complete the loop. Watch for answers, record them, and recognize that responses often unfold as yes, no, not yet, or something better than requested. So waiting is not wasted time, but a training ground for patience, resilience, and deeper trust. Common obstacles are normal and manageable. When distractions intrude, keep a notepad to park stray thoughts and return to focus. When doubt whispers that nothing is happening, choose a small, steady routine and let consistency gather evidence. When dryness dulls desire, borrow language from time-tested prayers or try breath, prayers such as a peace within on the inhale and a courage forward on the exhale. Make it practical with a daily rhythm. Brief morning kneeling for awe, honesty, gratitude, and requests, a midday reset with one focused breath, and a sentence of thanks. An evening review noting 3 gifts received, 1 lesson learned, and 1 person to carry in intercession, and anchor the habit with simple cues like a specific chair, a candle, or a timer, a putt. Adapt posture as needed. Kneel if you are able, sit if that is wiser, or bow the heart internally when circumstances prevent outward expressions, because the essential posture is teachability. Support the practice with journaling that captures prayers, impressions, scriptures or phrases that stood out, and outcomes over time, turning invisible progress into visible patterns that encourage perseverance and sharpen discernment. Make it communal by choosing 1 person, 1 place, and 1 problem to carry for a week. Then pair those prayers with a tangible act of service, a kind message or a small gift, shared rhythms with a friend or group. Add accountability and resilience. Over time, you can measure growth not only by answered requests but by a transformed character, less reactivity, gentler words, steadier courage, and a clearer sense of purpose aligned with what is good and life-giving. In this way, prayer moves from transaction to transformation, from noise to wisdom, and as hearts kneel in humility and rise in action, the world around us feels the quiet strength that flows from peace, clarity, and love. Prayer is a disciplined practice that aligns thought, emotion, and action with a higher purpose, and the simple act of kneeling reinforces that alignment by teaching embodied humility. Lowering the body signals to the mind that it is time to slow down, focus, and yield, which softens defensiveness and reduces noise so clarity can surface. This is not superstition, It is a well-understood interaction between posture, breath, and attention that steadies the nervous system and makes room for wisdom. Dapo, in that quiet worry loses its grip because concerns are named, examined, and placed within a larger frame, and the shift from rumination to reflection converts fear into courage and confusion into practical next steps. Effective prayer is both speaking and listening. Honest words clear the fog, and silence trains the ear to notice gentle prompts, remembered lines of truth, and fresh ideas that are consistent with love and integrity. Discernment is possible. You can test an impulse by its fruit. Does it produce peace rather than panic, patience rather than haste, and generosity rather than self-absorption, and by whether trusted counsel would affirm it? You'd affirm it. A simple structure keeps the practice strong. Adoration lifts the gaze to what is worthy. Confession names the attitudes and patterns that must change. Thanksgiving catalogs gifts already present, and supplication presents concrete needs with humble boldness. Breathing slowly, perhaps with a short phrase on the inhale and another on the exhale, helps anchor attention in the present moment, and journaling captures requests, insights, and outcomes so growth becomes visible over time. Kneeling is ideal when possible, but the essential posture is teachability. Those who cannot kneel can sit upright, bow the head, and adopt an inward stance of surrender, since sincerity matters more than form. To carry this from theory to practice, design a small daily rhythm and protect it. Begin the day with a few minutes of awe, honesty, gratitude, and clear requests. Reset at midday with one intentional breath and a sentence of thanks. Review in the evening by noting 3 gifts, 1 lesson, and 1 person to lift in intercession, and then act on any guidance that aligns with goodness and truth. Expect obstacles and plan for them. Distractions can be managed by keeping a notepad to park stray thoughts. Doubt subsides when evidence accumulates, so consistency is key. Dry seasons are normal, and borrowing language from time-tested written prayers or from short-breath prayers can rekindle focus. Intercession enlarges compassion, moving concern beyond sympathy into tangible service, and communities grow healthier when people regularly lift one another, and then rise to support those prayers with time, presence, and practical help. Track outcomes humbly. Some answers are immediate. Others unfold through delays, redirections, and unexpected provisions that prove wiser than the original request, and gratitude keeps the heart flexible enough to receive all 3. 3. Evaluate progress not only by closed loops on a list, but by who you are becoming: less reactive, more patient, clearer in purpose, steadier under pressure, and quicker to forgive. Zenwen. When kneeling becomes a rhythm instead of a rescue-only ritual, the floor turns into a place of learning. Attention is sharpened, motives are purified, and courage rises to meet hard days with calm strength. In this way, prayer shifts from transaction to transformation, an interior reorientation that quietly alters relationships, decisions, and the atmosphere of every room you enter, and the world around you begins to feel the steadying effect of a life aligned with what is true, good, and life-giving. To deepen the habit, set small experiments. Try 7 days of the same schedule. Use a consistent place and time, and reduce friction by preparing a cushion, a timer, and a journal the night before. Pair requests with 1 practical step you will take that day, so intention becomes movement. Once a week, review entries, mark patterns, and celebrate even partial progress to reinforce motivation. If attention scatters, shorten sessions and increase frequency. If boredom grows, vary practices with singing, walking, or reflective reading. Invite a trusted friend to share intentions and outcomes, creating gentle accountability. Over months, you will notice that posture shapes perspective, perspective guides choices, and choices gradually reshape outcomes for you and others alike. Truly. Prayer is a disciplined practice that aligns thought, emotion, and action with a higher purpose, and the simple act of kneeling reinforces that alignment by teaching embodied humility. Lowering the body signals to the mind that it is time to slow down, focus, and yield, reducing defensive reactions and creating the conditions in which clarity can surface. This is not superstition. It is an interaction between posture, breath, and attention that steadies the nervous system and widens perspective. In that quiet, worries are named, examined, and placed within a larger frame, so the shift from rumination to reflection converts fear into courage and confusion into practical next steps. Effective prayer is two-way. Honest words clear the fog, and attentive silence tunes the inner ear to gentle prompts, remembered lines of wisdom, and fresh ideas that remain consistent with love, integrity, and truth. Discernment is teachable. You can test any impulse by its fruit. Does it produce peace rather than panic, patience rather than haste, generosity rather than self-absorption, and by whether trusted counsel would affirm its direction? A simple structure helps. Begin with adoration to lift the gaze, move to confession to name what must change, practice thanksgiving to catalog what is already given, and present specific requests with humble boldness. With repetition, this rhythm changes the way attention, motivation, and behavior cooperate, forming habits that sustain courage when pressures mount. To move from concept to practice, design a small daily rhythm and protect it with cues that make starting easy. Morning can begin with a few minutes of awe, honesty, gratitude, and clear requests. A brief midday reset can include one intentional breath and a sentence of thanks. Evening can close with a review that notes 3 gifts, 1 lesson, and 1 person to carry in intercession the next day. In intercession the next day. Pair the structure with slow breathing, 4 counts in, 6 counts out, to engage calm, and consider short breath prayers such as a peace within on the inhale and a courage forward on the exhale to anchor attention. Journaling multiplies growth. Record requests, insights, patterns, and outcomes so invisible progress becomes visible and motivation stays high. When guidance seems to arise, test it with 3 gates: alignment with enduring values, confirmation from trustworthy voices, and practical feasibility. Then take 1 small step that same day, because action refines understanding. Expect obstacles and plan for them. Distractions can be parked on a nearby notepad. Doubt wanes as evidence accumulates through consistent practice. Dry seasons are normal, and borrowing language from time-tested written prayers or reflective readings can rekindle focus. Shared rhythms with a friend or group add accountability and resilience, transforming private intention into a communal source of courage and care. Over time, evaluate progress by character and contribution, not only by the number of requests you believe were answered. Look for quieter indicators: less reactivity under pressure, more patience in delay, kinder words when disagreements surface, clearer purpose when choices compete, and a steady willingness to forgive and begin again. Furtick. Notice relational shifts as intercession turns concern into service, changing how you show up for family, colleagues, and neighbors. Words become more thoughtful, listening deepens, and practical help follows naturally. Track the ripple effects as well. Environments feel calmer when you enter regulated and attentive. Decisions improve when values guide rather than urgency. And resilience grows because a grounded interior can carry heavier loads without breaking. Maintain humility by holding outcomes with open hands. Sometimes the wisest response to a request is redirection, a delay that matures capacity, or an unexpected provision better than the original plan, and gratitude keeps the heart flexible enough to receive each of these. Keep the practice adaptive. Shorten sessions when life is tight and add frequency. Vary methods when boredom appears by including walking, singing, or reflective reading, and reset gently after missed days, rather than quitting. Strengthen the habit with small experiments. 7 days of the same schedule. a dedicated space with a cushion and timer, a weekly review that marks patterns and celebrates partial progress. Because consistency builds trust in the process. In this way, prayer becomes less a last resort and a guiding rhythm, shaping choices, healing relationships, and cultivating calm, steady, courageous presence needed for challenges ahead. Prayer is a disciplined relational practice that aligns thought, emotion, and action with a higher purpose. And kneeling reinforces that alignment by teaching embodied humility. Lowering the body signals the mind to slow down, focus, and yield. Breath lengthens, the nervous system settles, and attention gathers. Instead of treating prayer like a transaction to get results, treat it as formation, the reshaping of perspective so that fear shrinks, courage rises, and the next right step becomes clearer. It is a two-way practice of honest speech and attentive listening, in which insights often arrive as quiet nudges, remembered lines of wisdom, or fresh ideas that harmonize with love and truth. Discernment is learnable. Test an impression by its fruit. Peace instead of panic, patience instead of haste, generosity instead of self-absorption, and by whether trusted counsel would confirm its direction. A simple structure helps focus. Begin with awe to lift the gaze beyond immediate pressures. Move to honesty about attitudes and habits that need change. Practice gratitude to recognize gifts already present, and present concrete needs with humble boldness. Over time, this rhythm trains the heart to be steady under pressure and the mind to choose values over impulses. Turn this vision into practice with small, repeatable rhythms. Start the morning with 5 minutes of kneeling if able, or a seated posture with an inward bow if not, and walk through awe, confession, gratitude, and specific requests. At midday, pause for 1 deep cycle of breathing, 4 counts in, 6 counts out, and a single sentence of thanks. This resets pace and perspective. In the evening, review the day by noting 3 gifts received, 1 lesson learned, and 1 person to carry in intercession tomorrow. Use simple anchors to reduce friction. A dedicated corner or chair, a cushion for kneeling, a candle or timer, and a short list of guiding prompts. Journaling multiplies learning. Record requests, impressions, patterns, and outcomes so invisible progress becomes visible over weeks and months. When words feel scarce, borrow language from the Psalms, historic prayers, or breath prayers such as a peace within on the inhale and a courage forward on the exhale. These steady the mind and keep attention in the present. Expect obstacles and decide in advance how you will handle them. Distractions are normal. Keep a notepad nearby to park stray tasks and return to focus without frustration. Doubt will question whether anything is happening. Answer it with consistency and evidence gathered in your journal. Dry seasons will dull desire. Vary methods with a brief walk, a sung refrain or reflective reading, and lean on shared rhythms with a friend or small group to add accountability and encouragement. When a possible direction emerges, test it through 3 gates: alignment with enduring truth, confirmation from wise voices, and practical feasibility. Then take 1 small step the same day, because action refines understanding and prevents endless rumination. Intercession enlarges compassion, moving concern from sympathy to service. As you carry others in prayer, speak more thoughtfully, forgive more readily, and pair your petitions with practical help, an encouraging message, a meal, an offer to assist. Communities grow healthier when people regularly kneel for one another and then rise to act. Measure progress by who you are becoming rather than by counting only resolved requests. Look for quieter markers, calmer responses under stress, more patience in delay, clearer purpose when choices compete, gentler words in conflict, and a habit of gratitude that keeps the heart flexible. Hold outcomes with open hands. Some answers arrive quickly, others unfold slowly, and some come as redirection toward a wiser path than you first imagined. Keep the practice adaptive. Shorten sessions and increase frequency during busy seasons. Return kindly after missed days, and celebrate partial progress to reinforce motivation. Once a week, review your notes to trace patterns and to notice how posture is shaping perspective and how perspective is guiding choices. Over time, the floor becomes a training ground. Worry yields to wisdom, noise to clarity, and isolation to connection. Kneeling does not shrink your world. It expands your capacity to love, to listen, and to lead with calm strength rooted in peace and purpose. Let patience and gratitude keep progress steady when outcomes remain unseen today. Prayer is a disciplined, relational practice that trains the inner life for clarity, courage, and compassion. Instead of treating it as a vending machine for outcomes, approach it as formation, a daily shaping of perception and character that directs choices toward what is good and life-giving. Kneeling matters because posture teaches. Lowering the body invites the mind to slow, breath to deepen, and attention to gather. With focus restored, worries can be named, sorted, and placed within a wider frame. As rumination loses fuel, anxiety gives way to steadier courage and the next right step becomes visible. This shift does not demand perfect words. It asks for sincerity, consistency, and a willingness to be taught. Studies on the connection between posture and attention show that what we do with our bodies shapes how we think, and steady breathing, with longer exhales, engages the body's calming response, making space for wisdom to surface. Effective prayer is two-way. You speak with honesty and you listen with patience. After expressing concerns and hopes, sit in quiet without rushing to fill the space. Insights often arrive as gentle nudges, remembered lines of wisdom, or fresh ideas that resonate with what is true and constructive. To discern whether an impression is sound, test it by its fruit. Does it bring peace rather than panic, patience rather than haste, a generous posture rather than self-protection? Seek confirmation from trustworthy voices and check practical feasibility. Give new insights a little time. If they remain clear after a night's rest, they likely carry weight. If the direction stands up to these gates, take a small action the same day, because movement clarifies what theory cannot. Journaling strengthens discernment. By recording requests, impressions, and outcomes, you create a personal laboratory in which patterns become visible and confidence grows through evidence rather than wishful thinking. Structure helps. A simple rhythm keeps attention from drifting and ensures balanced focus. Begin with awe, naming what is beautiful, true, and worthy. This lifts vision above immediate pressures and expands the heart. Continue with honest self-examination, owning attitudes and habits that need to change. Growth begins where denial ends. Practice gratitude by cataloging gifts already present, which shifts the mindset from scarcity to sufficiency. Conclude with specific request for yourself, others, and the wider world, stated with humble boldness. Pair the sequence with slow breathing, 4 counts in, 6 counts out, to engage calm, and consider brief breath phrases, such as a peace within on the inhale and a courage forward on the exhale, to anchor attention. Keep a consistent time and place, using small cues like a chair, cushion, candle, or timer to reduce friction and help the body recognize the moment. Protect the window by starting small. 5 minutes is enough at first, and expand as the practice becomes natural. Intercession enlarges the soul by moving concern beyond sympathy into service. When you regularly carry another's burden in prayer, your speech softens, listening deepens, and practical help becomes natural. An encouraging message, a meal, a ride, or an offer to share workload. This outward focus strengthens communities because people feel seen, supported, and strengthened. Treat each small act as part of the answer you are seeking, because participation builds hope. Expect obstacles and be ready with solutions. Distractions are normal. Keep a notepad to park stray thoughts and return to focus. Doubt whispers that nothing changes. Answer it with consistency and the record in your journal. Dry seasons may dull desire. Vary method with walking, reflective reading, or a simple sung refrain, and invite a friend to practice with you for gentle accountability. Small, steady inputs compound over time, turning irregular inspiration into a reliable rhythm that stabilizes mood and sharpens judgment. Evaluate progress by transformation rather than tallying outcomes. Look for quieter indicators, calmer responses under stress, more patience in delay, clearer purpose when choices compete, kinder words in conflict, and a reflex of gratitude that keeps the heart flexible. Hold desires with open hands because outcomes arrive in different forms. Quick breakthroughs, gradual shifts, redirections that prove wiser than first plans, or provisions from unexpected places. Meet each with thankfulness and adapt your steps accordingly. Keep the habit flexible, shorten sessions and increase frequency during busy weeks, reset kindly after missed days, and celebrate partial progress to maintain momentum. Once a week, review notes to trace patterns and set one focused intention for the next stretch. Sitquai, the next stretch. Ultimately, the practice becomes less about getting through a list and more about becoming the kind of person whose presence is a quiet invitation to trust and resilience. With time, kneeling with your body if able, or with your attitude when circumstances require, builds a steady, courageous presence that brings clarity, compassion, and peace into every room you enter. Prayer is a disciplined practice that trains attention, emotion, and action toward what is wise and life-giving. Treat it less as a transaction for outcomes and more as formation of character and clarity. Kneeling matters because posture teaches. Lowering the body signals the mind to slow, breath to deepen, and awareness to gather, supporting focus. This embodied cue engages the parasympathetic nervous system and raises the chance that insights will surface. In that quieter state, worries can be named, sorted, and placed in a larger frame, shifting rumination into reflection. Fear often shrinks when it is met with honesty and steady breathing, and the next right step becomes visible without the pressure to have every answer at once. Effective prayer is two-way. You speak with honesty and you listen with patience. After expressing concerns and hopes, leave space for quiet rather than rushing to fill it. Insights may arrive as gentle nudges, remembered lines of wisdom, or creative ideas that align with truth, integrity, and love. Discernment can be trained by testing impressions through three lenses: fruit, counsel, and feasibility. Fruit asks whether a direction produces peace rather than panic, patience rather than panic, patience rather than haste, generosity rather than self-protection. Counsel invites feedback from trustworthy voices who know your context. Feasibility examines the smallest next step available today. If an idea passes these tests, take one modest action because movement clarifies what theory cannot and prevents cycles of endless rumination. Structure supports consistency. A simple sequence keeps attention balanced. Begin with awe to lift vision beyond immediate pressures. Continue with honest self-examination to name attitudes and habits that need change. Practice gratitude by cataloging gifts already present, and present specific requests with humble boldness. Pair the sequence with slow breathing, such as 4 counts in and 6 counts out, to engage calm and anchor focus in the moment. Choose a consistent time and place, and use cues to reduce friction, like a dedicated chair, a cushion for kneeling, a timer, or a candle. Start small. 5 minutes is enough, and expand as the practice becomes natural. Consistency matters more than intensity, because small daily inputs compound into deep, stable growth. Expect obstacles and prepare simple responses. Distractions will intrude. Keep a notepad to park stray tasks and return to focus. Doubt will whisper that nothing is happening. Answer it with evidence in your journal and routine. Dry seasons will dull desire. Vary the method with a short walk, a refrain, reflective reading, or a few minutes of silence with slow breathing. If kneeling is difficult, sit and bow inwardly, because sincerity matters more than form. Intercession enlarges compassion by moving concern into service. As you carry others, you will speak more thoughtfully, forgive more readily, and pair petitions with practical help. A message, a meal, or a small act. Measure progress by transformation rather than by counting only resolved requests. Look for quieter markers. Calmer responses under stress, more patience in delay, clearer purpose when choices compete, kinder words in conflict, and a reflex of gratitude that keeps the heart flexible. Hold desires with open hands because answers arrive in varied forms. Quick breakthroughs, gradual shifts, redirections that prove wiser than first plans, or provisions from unexpected places. Meet each with thankfulness and adapt your steps accordingly. Steps accordingly. Once a week, review your notes to trace patterns, celebrate partial progress, and refine focus for the next stretch. This reflective loop reinforces learning, strengthens motivation, and prevents discouragement from erasing the gains that steady practice is already producing. To keep the practice sustainable, design a light but reliable daily rhythm. Begin the morning with a brief sequence of awe, honesty, gratitude, and clear requests. Pause at midday for a single deep breath cycle and a short sentence of thanks. Close the evening by reviewing 3 gifts, 1 lesson, and 1 person to lift in intercession tomorrow. Use breath counts such as 4 in and 6 out, or pair breathing with quiet phrases like a peace within and a courage forward to anchor attention. Invite a trusted friend to share intentions and outcomes for gentle accountability.